Hey guys, Thomas the Genie here, aka Mustached, here to review the video game, the Callisto Protocol. If you end up enjoying this full video game review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also make sure to check out those links in the description and want to head over to my petition to help out smaller YouTubers. Second and third to my Patreon and PayPal, where you can help support me and my channel directly, and fourth to my Discord server, where we can collab and share your own content for free, and sharing will be reminded at the end of the review. With all that out of the way, let's get into the Callisto Protocol. So I had heard about this game through all these means of seeing the trailer here and there on the Video Game Awards, or wherever it was announced. I think it was there. But I was like, okay, this is like the Dead Space, which is a game I've never played yet. So I was like, okay, I'm intrigued enough. And hey, well, additionally, I was also, supported through PayPal to do this one. So once again, thank you to my PayPal supporter for allowing me the opportunity to continue building my channel on top of everything else. So thank you once again, and of course, again, links in the description if you want to join in that. Every little bit helps. Just to say it now, if you're still watching this video, I'm saving up for a new microphone, as well as hopefully one day a new computer, proper computer, so I can start streaming, but I need a lot of money for a new computer. So any new PayPal supporters would be heavily, I'd be eternally grateful, and I would definitely be saving my money especially for those two specific things. And that would just mean, for you guys in return, better content and more content, as I'll be able to finally start live streaming. So, thank you once again for the current supporter. I need, again, if I can get any more, that, again, would be greatly appreciated, and will, again, help me to build a better channel in return. But now to the video game, the Callisto Protocol, and obviously as a video game I split this up into two parts where I talk about story and gameplay separately. So first we're going to tackle the story. So we start off following our main character, whose name completely escapes me off the top of my head. I should have wrote notes for this, but I was like, by the time I was like, you know what, fuck it, just no. So we're just going to call him the main character guy, or just the main character. So he's going through and getting ready to sell some equipment to this facility. This is another run just to get money for him and his little cohort there in the ship. However, his ship is boarded by some intruders, in which they fend them off, but this attack prompts them to force land on the planet, where they weren't forced to, land initially, but they ended up doing so. And in turn, he's arrested along with this young woman we see, who was a part of this attack, both be brought in as these prisoners. We see that our character here is forced to be have something inserted into his back, which represents our terrible looking health bar, as well as being placed in these prisoner outfits for a crime we don't understand, at least on initial viewing, and are sort of placed in this prisoner's cell, and where within a few moments of it being established that things are looking pretty bad, a riot commences, and things kind of get even crazier as everything in the prison just goes up the shit's creek. Your cell unlocks, you walk out, then run out, and eventually start running into these infected humanoids that are being subjected to what we see as we progress through the story, which in turn are people who were experimented on. They were turned into these monstrous looking figures in the various forms that we see along the way. And there are definitely elements of the story that still have me scratching my head, like there's this purple cube thing that their character touches that I simply shrug at. I'm like, is that a MacGuffin? What is the MacGuffin doing particularly? Is it like a pure hallucinogen thing? I don't know. And the rate of which we're being fed the pretty simplistic information about this being an experiment is relatively slow and, well, maintained as simple, which in turn, with the gameplay, which we'll get to, makes for this game to be kind of on the side of things. So I will say, again, the story is a little bit straightforward. There isn't anything too complex here, maybe with the exception of that weird purple cube thing that I'm, again, completely like, I don't know what that means. Though there are some parts I'm still trying to piece together, and I've played this game more than once, and I still haven't figured out what the purple cube is, nor do I know if, like, every moment you're with this lady later on, if, like, that's a illusion or whatever at later points, and when it's real and stuff, due to one particular part in the game where she consistently vanishes regardless of how many times I've done it, which is like 3 or 4 just to test it, and yeah, that maintained consistency, so I'm like, okay, that must be both? Question mark? Again, I really don't know still what the hell that's supposed to be. Anyway, so in terms of story, I think I'm going to actually lower it diegetically through the gameplay, backpedals this to stick to a 4 out of 10 rather than just the mediocre in between 5 out of 10. The story definitely suffers through the gameplay, which is something that doesn't typically happen, but I'm going to point it out every time that it does, because boy oh boy does it happen here, and it's awful. And it just makes, again, getting to the story beats, you just like sigh and go, yeah, get to the point. It makes you more infuriated that the story is as simple as, well, it's everything you would expect from this type of game anyway. So yeah, that's where I'm going to leave the score for the story. In terms of the gameplay, boy oh boy, to this one, screw the pooch. So, in terms of when you start out with a baton, and then later on you're given a gun, in which you have to kill the several different versions of these infected people, or whatever you would want to call them in this case, experiments, I guess, and essentially killing them and going through a pretty standard survival horror type of game. However, I would say the resource management, at least on first go around, was a little bit wonky for me to understand. Some of that was on me, I will admit, like the ability to grab onto objects like these little blue boxes that can give you even more equipment. I did not pick up the first time around that I could even do that, so that one I will say is on me. The dodging mechanic is one that I will complete and partially blame on myself and partially blame on the game as well. So in this game, when an enemy swipes at you, you're supposed to dodge by using the left and right stick, dodging in the opposite direction that the enemy is swinging in. Now luckily, there is an option to just turn it on automatically, like you just hold it and your character will just automatically dodge, which I turned on at only the final boss and just kept on just because I found the dodging system to be one of the more infuriating aspects of this video game. Because as you're dodging through one enemy, this game loves to, at various points, have more than one enemy on the screen. So while you're dodging one enemy, a second enemy can always interrupt you, and later on, definitely can even potentially kill you if you're not careful enough. So yeah, that's definitely rough. And it gets worse with the dodging mechanic, because it definitely happened more than once when I was retorting with the dodging and swinging at times to counter at when they were done swinging. What I noticed again on initial gameplay is that your character model will slide with the monster that you're fighting to a certain degree, which just looks really sloppy. I mean, it's already pretty bad enough that, again, the enemy could end up being behind you, and then, well, you're essentially fucked at that point, or could be potentially fucked at that point. So yeah, the dodging left to quite a bit of times where that was happening pretty consistently, where I would be dodging one enemy, and then a second enemy would pop in, and everything would just, the flow of decent, what was sort of mediocre combat, if anything, or lower end combat, ended up just ending up in absolute despair, and more so frustration in the fact that there is no way to conceivably deal with this enemy in a reasonable way. So, it's very flimsy, if anything. The game has a mocking system, an upgrade system. These upgrades are absolutely necessary, and for you to complete this game, I feel as if I wish I had known how powerful the glove was the first time around. I would argue that it's a very overpowered weapon, if anything. As I learned through New Game Plus, you can just grab enemies and fling them into the walls of, like, the spiky walls that you can see throughout the game. This can definitely save you some valuable time with most encounters, the majority of them, if anything. So I wish I had known how powerful the glove was on initial viewing, but I was going in blind, and through initial just upgrading what I felt I needed at the time. So I didn't think anything of the glove at the initial playthrough. So yeah. So the dodging mechanic didn't come into it. It led to several, if not the huge chunks of death. Just the way the character moves through it, as I was mentioning, there were bugs that you could see in my playthrough where I once even fell through the world. You can see one time out, well, you can't see it through the one time. Actually, you can't. I think you can. I think I did the New Game Plus on this Let's Play, yeah. I did do it. I think on one of the parts, I don't remember which one, I was doing really well, and then it gets the blue screen, and then it, like, cancels out of the game automatically. I think that happened in the Let's Play, I think, in my recording. That happened again off of the finale, and this game chugs with problems. Maybe it's because I'm playing on the PS4, not the PS5, I'm guessing. I don't know how many issues in that regard it deals with on the PS5. I couldn't possibly know. I don't have enough money for a PS5, nor do I have, nor do I even know I could even buy a PS5 even if I did have the money. So there's two issues for that. But anyway, so yeah, the combat was a lot to be desired, again, especially on that first time around. So yeah, I mean, that mechanic alone takes up so much of the gameplay is the issue for me, and I think for more than just myself either. Like, the enemies are gonna encroach on you very likely, so especially as you're upgrading your weapons, then again the first time around, and if you're not powering up that glove, I mean, unless you're doing that and just hoping that that will be the best outcome, which I'm gonna say it probably is anyway, then you're gonna be in for a really rough time. But, you know, I would say be wary of the glove too. In addition, is that you can't pick up obviously every enemy. This doesn't include the bosses, which there are repeat bosses of the two-headed variety, and our main antagonist, who we see throughout the game. He's the guy with the baton at the beginning who arrests us. He ends up being infected and turns gray, comes back from near-death experience looking gray, fights us. You can't use the glove on him. You can only dodge and attack, so the dodging system, obviously getting that down. You can see me suffer through that and try to wiggle my way out of that one. And it got even worse at the final boss, so much so as you saw in my first, you know, not New Game Plus, but on the initial Let's Play, I turned all the options to their maximum. The auto-dodging was turned on, the brightness, because I was having trouble seeing these little goopy things that crawl on the ground. I was having trouble seeing them, so I turned up the brightness so I can actually see where they were coming from. Turned the auto-dodging on, and even with all of those things on, I was still had a few snags along the way where this main and last enemy boss could kill me, because he kills you essentially in one hit if he gets one of his swings off. So yeah, really rough, and solely depending on having those dodges on, or being really good at dodging customly if you're going to have that option turned off. So yeah, I'm going to give the gameplay like a 3 out of 10, even with, because New Game Plus, again, it's still wonky, it still plays incredibly poorly in that regard. It still falls apart on again on a rerun. So yeah, this game is just on. I wouldn't recommend it, is what I'll say. So that is my review of the Callisto Protocol. If you ended up enjoying this full review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, make sure to check out those links in the description. One will head you over to my petition to help out small YouTubers. Second and third to my Patreon and PayPal, where you can help support me and my channel. And fourth to my Discord server. Any and all donations are greatly appreciated. And until next time, everyone, bye-bye.